Chapter 4. Look out for Carlos DeVille. The last bell of the day had finally rung, and the weekend beckoned. Carlos packed up his books and followed the crowd out of the classroom. There was a lively chatter in the air as people made plans to meet up at Camelot Grill for dinner and darts games or to hang by the enchanted lake. He craned his neck and spotted Jane, who had her advanced wish fulfillment class right next door to his history of heroism seminar. Carlos was still getting used to the idea that she liked him. He had been so nervous to ask her to cotillion, she hadn't even understood what he was asking her until it was almost too late. But now, when she saw him, it was like everyone and everything else melted away. "Hey," she said, her bright eyes shining. Her dark hair was pulled away from her face with a light blue headband, and she was wearing a matching ruffled dress. With him in his black jacket, white button-down shirt, and black and white pants, they made a handsome pair, if he did say so himself. They smiled shyly at each other. "Happy Friday," he said, because seeing her always made him happy. "Happy Friday to you," she said. They reached for each other's hands at the same time, causing Jane to giggle. "So, is everything set for you-know-what next week?" she asked, lowering her voice in case one of the seniors could overhear them. "I've got the list, and I've alerted the proper authorities," said Carlos. "Everything should be ready." "Amazing," said Jane. "It's going to be such a fun night. The best," he enthused. They had really pulled it together. It had been a little difficult getting all the parents to agree to their plans. Rapunzel, for one, didn't want to let her hair down too much, but in the end, they all agreed to help. Carlos was no longer the scared little boy who'd arrived at Ordon Prep, shaking at the sight of a puppy. He had grown taller, leaner, and much more confident in the time he'd spent away from the Isle of the Lost. Without his mother haranguing and constant criticism, he had truly come into his own, especially since he no longer had to fluff her wigs and take care of her furs. Everything was going happily ever after. He was doing well in his classes, he had a very cute girlfriend, and next year, once Jay and Ben had graduated, he was going to be the BMOC, Big Man of the Castle. Maybe he could even run for Castle King. He ruffled his crop of black and white hair, thinking about how everything would truly be perfect, except for just one thing. He would miss his friends. The others would be going their own ways after graduation, that was for sure. Jay was going to be some big war star, Evie would probably expand her fashion business, and Mal had her duties to Oridon. After all, she was the future Lady Mal now. Carlos felt a tad nostalgic for how it used to be, when the four of them were just a bunch of Isle of the Lost misfits, stumbling and scheming their way through Oridon. Which was why he was doubly glad he and Jane had coordinated this very special super-secret project next weekend that was part of the traditional graduation activities at Oridon Prep. "See you tomorrow?" she asked. "At the Oridon City Mall," he replied with a grin. 7 o'clock. "They just installed new dancing fountains, trained by the Sorcerer's Apprentice," she said. "It'll be so cool. Can't wait." He walked her back to her dorm, where she gave him a quick kiss goodbye. "Tomorrow," she promised. "Tomorrow," he echoed with a smile, still feeling the sweetness of her kiss against his cheek. As Carlos walked back to the boys' dorm, he texted the group chat nicknamed VKs. "Sea Dog. Hey, it's Friday. Let's hang. Want to grab eats at Charming's Chili?" Malevolent. "Sounds so fun, but Ben and I have a dinner with Aziz and his new princess tonight. So sorry. It's Jay. Rain check? Kinda sore from practice. Spending night in. Princess Evie. ... Carlos was waiting for Evie's reply when she ran right into him, still typing a response on her phone. "Carlos," she said joyfully. He broke into a smile. Evie was always so cheerful. She was like a big sister to him. "Evie, what's up? Want to go to Charming's Chili?" he asked. "I'm so sorry. I can't. Doug's band is playing at the Wishing Well later," she said with an apologetic smile. "Want to come with?" While Doug was a member of the marching band in the daytime, at night he whistled a different tune. Carlos would usually be happy to join her, except Doug's music was just a tad too emo for him. Extremely moody orchestrations, that is. Next time, Carlos promised, as they fell into step together. But do you have time now? Asked Evie. I'm actually going this way. She motioned back to the main castle. Now? He asked, following her lead. Yeah, I was about to go and find Mal and Ben to talk about the VK program. You know, the initiative to bring more villain kids to Oridon, she asked, as she opened the doors and they stepped through. Carlos nodded. It sounded vaguely familiar, although he hadn't been paying much attention. Mostly he'd been wrapped up in his new relationship with Jane. Uh-huh. Evie led the way to Ben's private wing of the palace. I was thinking maybe we should go back to the Isle of the Lost and get more kids interested in applying. We should? He asked, paling to the roots of his black and white hair. Even though they'd returned to the Isle of the Lost before, it always felt like a dicey proposition. In the back of his mind, he was always a little worried he'd end up stuck there again, and he really didn't want to be trapped in his dingy room in Hell Hall. Yeah, we should, said Evie, who seemed very intent on this idea. That way, they can see Oridon is a great place, even for villain kids, don't you think? Because so far, no one's applied to the program except for Dizzy. Oh, that did seem odd. Carlos would have guessed there would be more kids who might want to escape the island. For starters, he remembered the kids from the Anti-Heroes Club were pretty keen on Oridon. Yeah, Evie shrugged. Doug thinks that maybe they're scared or intimidated somehow, or maybe they think it's some kind of trap. You know how it was back on the Isle. There's always some kind of angle. He certainly did. Carlos drummed his fingers on his chin. He was warming up to the idea. You know what would help? If we brought peanut butter. Evie laughed. Okay. I was thinking we should meet with the kids personally to talk about Oridon, but that works too. Perfect. Let's find Jay and Mal first, then go talk to Ben, said Carlos. He always found safety in numbers.